Keep the great questions coming, guys. I appreciate you. So, question is, how do we tell if it's the head gasket, or an oil cooler? So, essentially, it's a conversation about understanding how the world works, right? So, oil in the coolant or coolant in the oil? So, if you've got, and this is just an indication kind of conversation, right? Generally speaking, if you have oil in the coolant, what's happened? Well, what's happened is your oil cooler probably fractured, right? Oil operates at a higher pressure generally than the coolant does. And so things from higher pressure tend to go to areas of lower pressure. And so if you've got a fractured oil cooler and oil's traversing those veins, and of course they are, where's that oil going to go? Well, it's going to go into the lesser pressure area, which is the coolant. So do you have oil in the coolant or coolant in the oil? If you have coolant in the oil, now all of a sudden you get a whole different set of problems, actually. That speaks more to head gaskets and maybe heads. But the conversation about that is, hey man, how long are you letting this go for? If you see droplets on your dipstick, that's all bad for you. I'm so sorry. Minimally, I drop the pan and do a bearing inspection and verify that those aren't compromised. But what you can do, obviously, is, step one, just get yourself a liquid gauge and tee that liquid gauge into the line between the degas bottle and the radiator. And if you're pushing, 15, 16 PSI, it's hitting the rev limiter, as it were. What's limiting it is the degas cap. Then ding, 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 we have a winner. Now, before you go ahead and say, oh man, I'm puking coolant and that's my problem, I've got to have blown something. Maybe not. Recognize there's a fill high and a fill low setting on that degas bottle. It's been well documented that your coolant should only be filled. The full hot is the full cold line. So Ford's come back and said, yeah, we kind of messed up there. It's a little high. So go ahead and have it lower, and that way, you're not having a problem there. So maybe you don't have a problem at all. Sweet, right? Now, if it turns out that the heads are coming off, I am not a fan of reworked heads. I know it's worked for your best friend's brother-in-law, sister's nephew's cousin. I get it. And maybe it's worked for a few cousins, right? Maybe you're a mechanic and you do this every day and you're like, man, I've never seen a problem. That could be, and there's examples of that. And I'm not discounting that experience. And if you or your customer, if they've only got, so many nickels and they're like, man, I just can't. I get it. Send the heads off, get them magnafluxed, see what's going on. Maybe they're not cracked. Maybe they're not that warped. They are warped. It's just a question of how warped they are. And maybe you want to get them reworked. The problem with that in my head is that if you get the heads reworked, you're making a bad problem worse. Take a look at these head gasket pictures up here, right? So we've got, like right there, we've got, this outer perimeter, that's where the head bolts go. And so notice that there are none in the middle. Right? Because there are none in the middle, this is where the gaskets blow. The head gaskets always blow between cylinders. They're not blowing out here. They're not blowing over here. They're blowing between here and here, which, yes, it's the closest distance between the combustion chambers. I totally get it. But that's got nothing to do with the price of a gallon of milk. The reason why they're blowing right there is that is the furthest distance between the head bolts. So it's not that your heads are lifting. That's not what's happening. Your heads are warping. They're becoming like a tent. They're going, eep, 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 every time that there is compression at a level that the gaskets just can't hang with. And so what you need to do is you need to have a higher integrity, less prone to flexing cylinder head, and that way you don't have this problem. Well, how do you do that? Well, number one, if you have a build date 2006 or newer, so January 2006 or newer, you probably have what are called commonized heads. I've talked about this in my other videos. By the way, I'm curious, add in the comments, how many of you find a video of mine, then go seek my profile and go on a binge watch? There's a lot of content here. We talk about a lot of different things, and sometimes somebody comments, man, there's a lot of nuggets in here. There's a lot of stuff in most of my videos, I would tell you. Just right in the middle of it somewhere, I'll say something. It's like, aha, I never heard that before. People reach out to me privately and tell me these things. I mean, listen, I'm not better than any of you guys. I'm just not. You know, whatever you guys do for a living, you're better at it than I am. I've said that so many times. And it's like, dude, if you're a roofer, I mean, I need a roof done, I'm going to be calling you, you know. One of my guys, I said this in another video, if I need a plumber, the guy writes in the comments, I'm a plumber. Yeah, but you're in Kentucky. I'm in Iowa. Oh, I love it. But we're all in this together, you know. And if you have a way of, speaking of being all in this together, if you have a way to help these people that are affected by this hurricane, man, please do that. You know, anything you can do. Probably should have dedicated a video on that, actually. But we are all in this together. And if we wait on the federal government to help us out, that's just not the way. We're better together. You know, our government works for us. We don't work for them. That's not how this works. But anyway, I digress. I could talk about that forever. As far as your heads go, if you've got the cash, you know, so if you've got commonized heads, you got 20 millimeter alignment dowels. It's got nothing to do with the size of the alignment dowels. It's got to do with how strong is the cylinder heads. The 20 millimeter alignment dowel heads, commonized heads that began in January 2006 or newer, they are 25% thicker at the bottom, at the base of the head, where that flexing likes to occur. And so that's the reason why, if you've got an 06 or newer truck, the likelihood of having blown head gaskets is a heck of a lot less. Now, if you've got an earlier build truck, you got an 03, 04, 05, or even an early build 06, and you have 18 millimeter heads, and yeah, you go get them decked and checked, and or checked and decked, I hope, right? You're going to shave off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, mils off that. You're going to make a bad problem worse. So the likelihood of you flexing that cylinder head goes way up. And so this is the reason why it's ridiculously common. And it happened in one of my trucks, and before I knew any better, in my favorite 6.0, my Excursion. Did the head job. 8 months later, 10 months later, whatever it was, I had cracked heads. And I spent the money. I spent like $900 getting these freaking heads redone, new valve seats, everything, only to have them crack. And it's like, why did they crack? Because the head gasket job was done wrong? No. They cracked because the head failed. And the head failed because it got too thin, and all of a sudden it flexed, and oopsies, here we go. Now, in my case, was I running two 0530 injectors and, a stage 2 cam and a stage 2 cam and a stage 2 turbo and all the goodies? Well, yeah. And so, did I bring this on myself? Well, probably a little bit, right? But this is not to say that even if you're running just stock sticks and stock turbos and all that kind of stuff, and you drive like a grandma, that this isn't gonna happen to you. And it's a lot of work to do twice. And if you're paying a shop, oh man, it's a lot of money to pay twice. And what's your warranty? And I got a 1-year warranty. Man, I don't know that I'd do that. So if you've got the cash, replace the heads, and we'll hook you up with either 18 or 20 millimeter dowel heads, but the ones that are thicker. So we can get you an 18 millimeter head that's thicker. And if you want, it doesn't matter whose heads you want, we carry them. And we can talk about the differences between a Kill Devil head and a Choate head and a DK Auto head and all these heads that are out there, and we can talk intelligently about them. So, if you like UCF heads or whatever, we carry it all. So whatever you need, we got you. So, and our goal is not to sell you on a particular brand or whatever. We just want you to know what the differences are so you can best pick. But I hope this helps. Figure it out. Put a pressure gauge on. See what you got going on. Look inside your DS bottle. Is there oil up in there? Check your oil. Is there water up on the dipstick? If there is water up on the dipstick, any kind of dimples, any kind of liquid on the dipstick that's not motor oil. If it's, you know what water looks like. Then, check the bearings and see what you got going on. But I hope this helps. If you need any additional, if there's additional questions, comments, thoughts, whatever, please put them in the comments. Please like, subscribe, repost, comment, all the everythings. It helps the channel and it helps everybody else. And that's what we're about, helping each other. So, FICMRepair.com, we're all in this together. Whatever your build is, by the way, we got you for all the parts. Not just some of them, not just most of them, all of them. We don't want some of your business. We want all of it. But we only want to sell you what you need, not what you think you need. All right? So, FICMRepair.com, we're all in this together. Thanks.